All right, we're joined by Solange Moujon for a review of what's making headlines in today's press. Morning to you, Solange.
Morning, Will.
Beginning with yesterday's story here in France against the retirement reforms. The French press wondering when the nationwide strikes, a record long strikes, will come to an end.
Yeah, well, the French daily Aujourd'hui en France asks which way to an exit. The French paper says the turnout of yesterday's nationwide rallies was lower than previous ones, and that the tension between the government and the unions, though, is at its record high. It's never been higher. In an opinion piece, the paper says that the country is actually being held prisoner, that both sides, the government and the unions, need to, quote, get it together and start negotiating. And on that negotiating front, Libération says that France has entered into a never-ending tug of war. For the left-leaning paper, the government isn't budging, and which has led, they say, to a complete deadlock. Now, how to end that deadlock and find a compromise is the front page subject of Les Echos. The business paper says that in today's meeting between the government and the unions, a whole cocktail of possible measures are going to be discussed to try and end what is France's longest strike in recent history.
More tension, lower turnout. Today will be the 37th day of the strike. Is the press saying one side or another is winning this standoff?
Well, it really depends on what press you read. For L'Humanité, yesterday's rallies were a strong showing for the unions. It says that on its front page that 1.6 million people protested, and it makes a plea to the government, quote, listen to them, listen to the people. But for the right-leaning paper, Le Figaro, it's the government that's saying banco or bingo with its idea of holding a finance conference over how to foot the pension bill. For Le Figaro, that negotiation, which could actually happen this summer, could be a way, if it's accepted by the unions, for the government to sort of bring down the tension right now and still be able to push through their budgetary agenda.
All right, well, let's shift gears now to Haiti. This Sunday will mark the 10-year anniversary of the catastrophic earthquake. How has the press there been covering this sad anniversary?
Well, the Haitian press is naturally paying tribute to the 200,000 people that died on January 12, 2010. But a decade later, they're also taking stock. Le Nouvelliste is focusing on what they say is an emblem of the country's dismal health and sanitary services. They look at the still unfinished university hospital, which was supposed to be completed 3 years ago, and they say instead of construction workers, weeds have taken over, that the work at the hospital is still at a complete standstill. Allegedly, they say, because the state funding has stopped. Now, the government has sort of stayed mum on this. For Le Monde, Haiti has become, quote, a republic of nonprofits. The paper looks at where the promised $10 billion in funding and aid went after the 7-point magnitude earthquake hit. Some of that money wasn't actually given. Some repaid debts. Some was for taking out loans. And 99% of it, according to Le Monde, did actually went around the government, creating a system, the paper says, that both undermines the state but also props up the political elite. 10 years later, Le Monde says in the op-ed by Frédéric Thomas that once if anything, life has gotten worse in Haiti, and a lot of that has to do with the NGOs, and so they put a lot of blame on the NGOs.
Solange, let's shift now to some scary health news coming out of the U.S. The suicide rate for American workers is increasing, but there may be a solution, according to the Washington Post.
Yeah, well, before we go to the solution, let's talk about the problem. The Washington Post tells us that the American Bureau of Labor has found that there's a never-before uptick in the number of people that are killing themselves at their workplace. This is work-related suicides. Suicide in the U.S. is a nationwide crisis. Some 47,000 people kill themselves every year. But this article focuses, again, on the workplace. In 2018, the paper says 304 people killed themselves at work. And the paper says that companies are trying to figure out how to respond, how to make work environments healthy and not push people to suicide, and to sort of focus on people's mental health. And the paper even offers up now to the solution in another article, the potential solution of how to save lives. The Post points to a study this week that's out that shows that if the minimum wage was increased by just $1, it would save tons of people from killing themselves. Naturally, not every case, but the paper says it would help stop what they call deaths of despair, or people taking their lives because they can't make ends meet.
Food for thought. Let's end on a lighter note, Solange. You have something about wearing shorts in the dead of winter. We don't have the graphic. We apologize, but tell us about
There it is.
Oh, we do.
It's a good one, too. This may ring a bell for you, Will. I don't know. In my high school, there was a boy who was always in shorts, even in the dead of winter. Snow piled high, just like this young man. And everyone wondered why. He said it felt good, and he liked shorts. Well, this article debunks a lot of myths about why some young men wear shorts all year round. And they actually cite doctors who say it's not because some kids run hot or their body temperature's hotter. They cite psychologists as well who say it's likely because, case by case, it depends, but it's likely because the young men want to show their independence and show that they can now pick their clothes instead of mom.
I used to rip my jeans when I was a small boy. I told my mom it was my air-conditioned jeans.
There you go. Well, maybe you run hot and maybe you were showing your sartorial independence.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much, Solange. Solange Mouchon with the Lookouts Making Headlines.